The biggest problem with flight simulation, at least that I have, is pretty straightforward, and it's not to do with graphics and it's not to do with flight models, it's actually the camera. So here's the thing, no matter how realistic the cockpit looks, you're always trapped behind a mouse or a hat switch or a stick. You're staring at the camera instead of just looking. So I've been using the Tobii Eye Tracker 5 in Flight Sim 2024 for a long while now. In fact, one way or another, I've been using the Tobii Eye Trackers for around about 10 years. It's one of those few things that breaks that glass wall. And for me, that means it stops being a game that I'm watching and starts becoming more of a world that I'm inhabiting. So for this video, I'll have the Tobii Ghost bubble on and off. This allows you to see what I'm looking at with my eyes. It won't be there the whole time, but it's pretty useful because it makes it obvious what I'm actually looking at and gives you an idea of how the eye tracker aspect of this works. Of course, we'll talk about why this is also useful for other areas and for other types of users. Now, this video is sponsored by Tobii, and they happen to be running a 15% discount during the next couple of weeks up until the 6th of April for the Tobii Eye Tracker. So do check out that link in the video description. And in case you're wondering exactly what the Tobii Eye Tracker 5 is, this is a device that mounts to the bottom of your monitor, and it can then track your head location. It can also track your eyes, so it knows what you're looking at on your screen, and it can also reposition an in-game camera according to how you position your head. It has 6 degrees of freedom of tracking, which has a great range of motion, especially in supported games, of which there's around about 150, I do believe, many games that support this device. And on top of that, it's very easy to mount to your monitor with this simple attached magnetic plate. You'll also find a link to the sweepstake that they're running as well, which is well worth taking a look at. So, with all that said, let's get to some of this flying. Now, the first place I wanted to come to was the Matterhorn, and if ever there was a landscape built around sheer mass and verticality, it's this one right here. The mountain just dominates everything around it. It's this sort of place where your eyes naturally move from the ridgelines to the valley floor, from the snowfields to the rocky faces, and then back out to the horizon again. It's one of those regions in Flight Simulator that really reminds you that mountains, well, not just scenery, they really have a physical presence to them. Now, it's worth pointing out that when I'm in the outside showcase camera, or the external cam, as you can see here, the head tracking also works. As I turn my head, you can see me looking around, and this is just absolutely gorgeous for keeping up with the views around us. From there, I moved on to San Francisco Bay, one of those instantly recognizable landscapes where sea, city, and engineering all collide in a very distinctive way. Now, the Golden Gate Bridge is one of those places that almost doesn't need an introduction. It has such a strong silhouette here, and the whole bay around it has a character that's very easy to read from the air. And then, of course, there's Alcatraz as well, sitting there in the middle of the water, carrying all that history with it. And here is where I know the strength of the tracker becomes obvious. You'll also notice that I've got the Tobii Ghost on here, so you can see exactly what I'm looking at. That's especially useful because it lets you see how naturally the eye moves from landmark to landmark and point to point. So this would be extremely useful for any of you streamers or YouTubers out there, because your audience are about to see exactly what you're looking at. And really, for me, this is what makes this area so beautiful. You have the bridge, the island, the skyline, the shoreline, the open water, your attention's being constantly pulled from one thing to the next. And in a place like this, it really feels like I'm sightseeing, and less like operating a camera, simply because, well, I'm looking around the bay, using my head, very natural. And that can be from the Golden Gate Bridge to Alcatraz right here. And for me, Alcatraz is one of those kind of paradoxical locations. It's steeped in a pretty dark history, but it's also, I guess we could say, a rich history. There's a lot going on here that tears people in very different directions. But ultimately, this is one of the reasons I enjoy Flight Simulator so much. The ability to explore a perfect twin of Earth, a recreation of the entire planet. Now, next up was Egypt, and a few places on Earth have quite the same sense of age and scale as the pyramids of Giza. And then further into the clip, we get the stepped pyramids as well. So there's something very special about seeing these from the air. The geometry of them, the desert around them, the way modern Cairo presses right up against antiquity, really. And it all gives the place an identity that is very hard to mistake. There's nowhere else on Earth quite like this. And this is where I always notice something that makes the Tobii Eye Tracker stand out, because, well, it's not just about scale, because as we saw with the Matterhorn, it's also really good for your curiosity. And Egypt is perfect for that, because your eye naturally moves from one structure to another, from the Great Pyramid across the plateau, across the roads and pathways, and out towards the desert edge and then back again. But also, as we look around, we've got the surrounding town, the surrounding city, the deserts, the little pathways and roads that are dotted around all of this. And then, we can also see inside the cockpit here as well. This is very handy. Looking at the instruments, it all look very natural, just very easy to do. Now, up in the distance, we've got the stepped pyramid. We'll come to that in just a moment. This is a little bit further out from the pyramids of Giza. This here is the stepped pyramid of Djoser. And this is an area that doesn't get talked about nearly as much as the other pyramids, which is a shame really, because what you're looking at here is widely considered the oldest large-scale stone monument in the world. It is in fact, in a very real sense, one of humanity's earliest great architectural statements. And seen in this light, especially with the sun dropping lower in the sky, it's just a stunning place to pass over. And that for me is where the Tobii works best in scenery like this. Just one natural glance to the side and the whole scene comes with you. And Yellowstone gave me yet another variation on this, because here it's much less about human architecture and much more about landscape and detail. And this is one of those regions where the eye keeps on being drawn downward, to the geysers there in the distance, to the patterns in the terrain, the riverways, roads cutting through the park. This all has that strange and very beautiful geological texture that makes you want to keep searching the ground below and just seeing what you can see. You never really know what you're going to quite find. Even something as simple as following the lay of the land and then coming to a road and letting your eye drift over to a river feels very natural. For me then, this part of Yellowstone has something very unusual and unique to it. There's something obviously very modern here due to the way the roads are laid out, but also there's something extremely ancient due to the geological nature of those geysers. Now that's the scenic and experiential side of everything here, but there's also a practical side as well, and that's where I wanted to spend some time here in the 737 down at Vinson. And you'll probably notice very quickly here that the 737 has a natural movement for me between the panels and the outside world. A moment ago I was looking out of the window, and now I'm looking down here checking out various different instruments and other functions within the plane. And as you can see, this feels much more fluid than constantly managing a separate camera layer with your various different controllers, whichever you use to achieve that. And this for me is where it becomes much more than just a sightseeing tool. In an aircraft like the 737, there's so many places your attention needs to go. Forward panels, side panels, overhead panels, and then back outside again. And the Eye Tracker just makes the whole process feel much less rigid. Now, I want to talk about a couple of common questions here that a lot of people often ask about. I see these in my video comments whenever I cover the Tobii Eye Tracker. So we're going to go through those now. If you wear glasses, that's completely fine. I wear glasses myself. I've never had any issues with the Eye Tracker with glasses. It works perfectly natural there. It also works perfectly fine in low light, so you don't need to have massive levels of light around you. But if you've got curved monitors, you might be worrying if that's going to be a problem. Well, here's the thing, that's completely fine as well, no issues whatsoever. Now, in terms of settings for the game, when we come to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, it has quite a wide range of support for the device because it is supported directly and natively with the game. And if you go through the settings, as you can see here, you can basically change everything down to the eye tracking sensitivity and the sensitivity of your head tracking of any angle. And that means you can dial in your head motions exactly to the type of thing that you want, so you don't end up with crazy levels of motion that might make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. Ultimately then, what I've been noticing here, and the point I really want to make, is that yes, this is a sponsored video, but first and foremost, it is still a Microsoft Flight Simulator video, and one about seeing places, flying over them, and taking them in. What Toby changes for me is simply the act of looking. It makes these places feel more alive, more natural, and much less like I'm fighting a camera in a game, and more like I'm actually touring them and seeing them. As many of you who will know who've watched this channel for any length of time, I've been using the Tobii Eye Trackers for about a decade now, and I plan on doing so for much longer to come as well. At any rate, if you want to check out more on this, there's a 15% discount running up to the 6th of April. Do check that out, along with the sweepstake as well. Both the links are down there in the video description. Thanks for watching this video all the way through. Do take care, and I'll catch you next time.